welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. So it's spring, it's getting towards Easter. This Sunday is Palm Sunday, And today was a very interesting day. I went on the bop, and a friend of mine lent me their beater. And I was a few places, and, that I could get on the internet. But I was speaking to lots of different people. And so I was more interested in our conversations than basically our, using them, exposing them, taking advantage of them on the internet, like John does. No, basically, we talked and we had great, when more than two come together in the name of Jesus Christ, there God is, right? And that's called fellowship, And so I talked to lots of young folk, old folk, every kind of folk. And so I was in a large corporate restaurant. I won't give its name away. And it's basically, I just kind of looked at the dining room I was in, and there's probably maybe, 100 to 200 people in there. And only 3 people actually bless their food, Whenever I take anything into my body, I always give thanks, right? So anyway, we talked about everything. We talked about the Trinity. We talked about there's this lady who sounded like she was going to be a real church lady because she could quote the Bible, but she actually put it in context and basically talked in verse like poetry. And one of the youngsters who was going to college nearby was a literary, student, and made that comment. She goes, "You're talking in verse like Shakespeare." And so, then our server started talking to us in verse, and virtually everyone started around me was talking in verse. It was quite interesting. And the Bible is written in verse, right? And chapter in verse, and a good portion of it is actually in poetic meter. And the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is in meter. And that's why the Jews basically sing, when they go to into their chapel, into their sacred spot. They have a cantor who sings the Bible, right? Reads the Torah and sings it, right? Because they understand its verse. And when you sing it, you are harmonically, vibratorily connected to God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So it was interesting. Just before I went on, John Boy, kind of called, right? So I'm right now on my tablet. So normally my laptop, I was writing, and so the battery is lower than it normally is. So if I did a show on the laptop, it would only be about 15 minutes. My tablet here has got a good couple of hours. And but I can't normally, what I normally do is kind of have a whole bunch of things on the tablet that I have lined up to play so you can hear it. And we've already talked about politics and what's going on in the world, et cetera, et cetera. But here we are coming up to Easter, which is the most sacred time for the Abrahamic, meaning the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. They all have their high holiday right at this time because they are all the same people. They're like cousins, right? So, okay, let's see if we can get Johnny Boy. He's always fun to talk to. You can't deny that. Come on. You can. The phone was just working. It's like, doesn't want to talk to John. Really? Come on. It won't do it. Isn't that amazing? Everything that occurs to me is kind of, I have no idea what to do. So, I have basically, when I died in 2014, I basically turned everything over to God, and so far it's so good, right? I lost 240 pounds. All the organs that were dead have come back to life. So, I haven't had to have, open heart surgery. I haven't had to have 20 feet cut off of my colon. I haven't had to have my legs cut off, and I haven't gone blind, But, I have to keep an eye on it because I'm right on this. When you can keep yourself in homeostasis, that's when things are fine. But when you can't, that is a problem. Let's see. There we go. God, come on, ring. Come on, phone, ring. You can ring. Come on. It's like figuring it out. It's like not ringing. It's not, going.
Please leave your message for 5402938.
So that's the Johnny boy. He doesn't want to, he called me, and now he doesn't want to answer the phone. Come on, John. Let's see. Do. It's ringing. Come on, John, answer the phone. You can do it. There you are, John, the star, A-lister boy. How you doing?
Hello.
Hey, honey bun, you look really great, half naked in your last video. You look really great. In those little, hammock shorts. They really, you really look good. You're just buff. You're just such a buff boy.
No.
You're a BB. So what's up, Johnny boy? That song you wrote was kind of nice. Was that who was that little girl with the sun? Oh, I'm great. I had my eyes operated on, I guess, Monday, the time goes.
Oh, yes.
And that was quite interesting to have my eyeballs, the sun, they lasered the inside of my eyeballs. And boy, it's like exciting, and because all you can see is this unbelievable bright light. I mean, brighter than bright. And, your eyes don't really have nerve endings in there. You don't really feel pain. You just kind of feel pressure. And so
I'm trying to be godly and Jesus like. It's good that you got the surgery.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah. So that's one down. I got 3 more to go. And my eyes are pretty, so what's interesting, so after they do the process, you can't, it's like, you don't see anything, right? And then within an hour or two, you can't see anything, but everything it becomes bright, meaning the light around you can see the light, right? And then in about a day, you can see somewhat of a definition. So that, by the next day, I could kind of see. And now here it is, 2 days after, and I can see pretty good, right? It's still, I've had this procedure done before, so I know what it's like. So it's actually, and what's interesting was I was at the last one, like, and so he doesn't, unless he can talk, he doesn't want to talk. Let's go. We'll call him back. Do.
No.
So, who was that little girl on?
No, hello.
Yeah, who was that little girl? Who is that little girl on your video?
No. Oh, she's my daughter. She's Ayla.
I thought you only had 2 sons from your loins.
No, Ayla, and it doesn't matter how they're physically made.
You mean, but your sperm didn't make Ayla. She's not a genetic product of your.
I'm her father.
But you.
I was married to Danica when she was born.
I thought you were divorced 10 years before she was born.
we still talked every day, hours.
But
on the
legally,
phone.
you were divorced, right? You went to a court,
We talked every day on the phone for like 2 hours.
but no, legally, you were divorced.
Legally is the Old Testament. God still had us married.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, so what are you doing? How you preparing for Easter?
Well, God still had us married.
So how you preparing for Easter?
Somehow.
So are you still a Roman Catholic?
No. No.
No.
I don't know.
So do you
Yeah, kind of. I don't know.
do you ever practice Ramadan? Ever practice like the Catholic period before Easter when you give up eating?
I'm not a Muslim. I don't know what Ramadan is.
It's Lent. It's Lent. You know what Lent is?
Is Ramadan a Muslim holiday?
No, Muslims are Christians, John, on steroids. They are part of the Abrahamic tradition.
I have no idea when Ramadan is. I don't know what it is.
It is the same. So do you know what Lent is?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's like Lent?
It is Lent.
Oh, maybe they're okay. I don't know.
Yeah, well, everyone on this earth is okay, John. We're all God's children. Doesn't matter what religion you are. Religion is more a economic, political, cultural dynamic. God is God. There's only one God. And he's the God of every human being. Jesus Christ died on the cross, not just for the Gentiles, but Jesus Christ died for us all.
Yes.
So, anyway, what do you do? Did you practice Lent at all? Do you do any kind of giving? That Lent is to sacrifice. As Jesus sacrificed himself for us, right?
Yes, when you were a little.
So I sacrifice, still do. I basically once a week don't eat anything. Once a week I don't eat anything. And that's my one of the things I do in respect to God and Jesus is that one day of the week I basically don't eat anything. And I've given up pretty much. So Lent is you give up. It's not that you don't eat. You just don't eat the stuff that you normally crave, like cookies and cheeseburgers and beer and anything that is really, really important, but if you really, really like, you give up to show that so in the Ten Commandments, one of them is not to have false gods. And the biggest false god is not so much like some other god of some other religion, and you read it all through the Old Testament where Israel constantly went off track because they were, going after stuff. I mean, when they were in Egypt, for that 60 years or more, they had become Egyptians. They had gotten, the Egyptians, you'd think the United States is materialistic. Everyone buys everything, from Amazon and just has to keep buying and buying and buying. Well, the Israelis, when they were in Egypt, was same when they were in Babylon. Every time they kind of gotten taken over by somebody, they absorbed that culture of materialism. And so that is the false god.
What if somebody raped you if they were gay? Never mind. Would that make somebody gay if somebody else raped?
No. Rape is a violent act, John. That's not meaning there, women get raped all the time and no, they're not sinning. No. So, and John, sex is not really a sin. It's when we are totally,
I can't even get excited about a woman on the computer.
Well, I mean, yes, and that's that right there when
because I'll be instant.
that's the thing about temptation. When you, you know, willfully let yourself go into temptation, like, you know, my tablet said I had no memory, right? And so I went on to it, and I was telling a friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine. I have a lot of friends who are pastors of religion, and they like talking to me about theology because I'm not stuck in the belief structure. So they can, and I'm not part of their flock, and I'm not, gonna, blow their cover. Anyway, so we were talking about porn, and basically we were talking about cell phones. That the most sinful thing that our generation came up was social media. If that ain't a sin, I don't know what is, because it totally disconnects you from God and Jesus, right? So anyway, I was telling them that my tablet had gotten totally filled up, and it said, your memory is totally full. Get rid of some stuff on there. So I went on there, and pretty much, all of this porn stuff was on there. And I just started, and it wouldn't let me say, okay, just get rid of all the porn. I had to do, every time I had gone on to the site and looked at something, it was up there on my memory. And so I had to do it, erase them one at a time. And it almost took me an hour. And I heard God just giggling, So, that I needed to do that, because that was the thing. I said, okay. Now, thank you, Jesus, for giving me the physical representation of how much time I wasted on this stupid crap. And so every time I think, I feel the little temptation, I go, no. I'm not doing that again. See, that's the thing about temptation. If you can say, no, I'm not going to do that again, then that's why you were tempted, so you could see what it was, realize what a chucklehead you were, and you move forward into God's love. That's basically it. That's all God wants, God's love. You read the Old Testament, all you hear is God's love. You read the New Testament, all you hear is Jesus's love, right? He so loved the world, meaning God and Jesus, same, and the Holy Spirit is God. Now, people can't wrap their little head around, there's a Trinity. Not the same God, but, the Godhead, who knows, and, but God, Jesus, God, knows everything too, knows he's going to die, knows when he was born, he knows everything from the instant, right? Let's see. Okay. It's an affirmation of love. You're very, yep. Next time, go to notifications by 3 bars and clear. Okay, thank you for doing that. But see, I needed to do, I have no idea. I mean, there's tons of things. I try to send my documents to certain people, and I can't. I have no understanding of why or why not. I mean, I have no idea about this, right? It's a miracle that I'm actually talking to you guys right now. And thank you for the 4 of you being here, and the thumbs up and all of that, right? And get a hold of me at thedudeawake42@gmail.com, and I'd love to talk to you. And see, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. The fact that I can talk to you now is like a miracle from God, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Now, John Boy, he knows every aspect about everything. He can control it and do it and blah, 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 blah. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has got his little fingers into my channel, and that's why not many people watch. But it doesn't matter, because the people who do are quality, right? And are the ones who kind of need, the ones who do get a hold of me at my Gmail. On the 100 or so that I've formed a relationship, I am their sensei, and they all of them came to me with real issues. Half of them was, I'm ready to kill myself. Not like John, who goes, I just want to die. I want to kill myself. I mean, every 36 hours, that's kind of what he says. Not the fact that he may not do it, but he is so egocentric that he's never going to kill himself, because his life is all about him, right? Now, if he actually felt anything for anybody else, right, then, and the fact that he has to, that little girl has nothing. He's never been with her. He's like spent maybe, 3 days with her of her whole frigging life. It's no. And when he says, that's my daughter, no. That's a, hallucination, because his sons who are really his, I mean, they're genetically his, he has spent very, of their, his oldest son is, I don't know, probably pushing 16, 17, and probably has been with his father in a, a wholesome kind of way, probably just for a couple of days, for his whole life. It's a great day outside. No kidding. I mean, look at this day. Look at it. Oh, and this is a deep green, right? And everything in the next, next 2 weeks, everything's going to bud out big time. So, I mean, all the like really, like all the blackberries have got leaves on them. They're like kicking butt, and it's going to be a yummy blackberry season, right? And that's great. And see, I'm totally surrounded by blackberries. So that's like my security fence is all the blackberries, right? So anyway, so today I spent with a lot of really the average Joes on the street, and we had great conversations, and I don't talk to people unless I can read their energy and realize that, because I'm not trying to teach anybody anything. I'm not trying to, you need to be a Christian or any of that, not praise God, I mean, I give them a little reading that kind of catches their attention. And then we talk about whatever they want to talk about. And I give them a perspective. And then I kind of say, you ever look at the Bible? Maybe you should go read John. Maybe you should go read Luke. Maybe, and go try Luke 20 or go try Luke 6, and that's about it for quoting the Bible. And I will then tell the story of it in a story form, right? And they're like, and so what's really fun is, so there's only 4 or 5 towns around here. Everybody knows me, It's kind of fun. Hey, Bob! Ow, Bob! It's like, that's right. It's fun, right? And they will always explain the first time, so, the first time I met him, and they tell the story. And I don't tell the story. I let them tell the story, right? And then they tell other stories about that, right? And that's called a community, right? So anybody wants to talk to me, the dudeawake42 at Gmail, dudeawake42 at Gmail, right? And so all the stuff that's going on around the world, the wars, and it's like someone said to Jesus, so when's end times coming, Jesus? And he goes, I don't know, And he said, there always will be wars and rumors of wars. There will be plagues. There will be, as long as humanity, and this is the closest he came to saying this. He goes, everything that's going on in your world, meaning this make-believe ego thing that we have going on here, is all on your nickel. God didn't do any of this. The devil didn't do it. When you keep saying, the devil made me do it. No, God is always forgiving you. God is always loving you unconditionally. Me, Jesus, God, I'm always forgiving you, right? And if you come to me for forgiveness, you have access to God's unconditional love. And once you have that, you are blessed with God's grace of faith, right? Which is a great shield. Faith's the greatest shield you can have, because faith ain't belief. Belief is belief is very subjective. Oh, I believe in this, and then tomorrow you believe in something else, right? Faith is inside of you and never wanes. Look at Job. If you want to talk about faith, go read Job. He was the top dog. He was in the same little neck of the woods as Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Noah and all of those guys, right? But the A-listers, right? And the devils, tempted God by saying, hey, look at this guy, and he goes, oh yes, he is my most devoted. I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, but why is he devoted? Because you give him all this stuff, all these sheep and goats and cows and kids and barns and this. He's the richest guy in town. Take it away. See what he does. He'll curse you, right? So God does, and not all at once, little by little by little by little, to really test his thing, to the point where his wife goes, you're such a schmuck. Curse God. Look at what he's doing. Your God is, anyway. So that's where we are. So the bottom line is when you let go of everything, like me, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's like Mr., he and I are both artists, whatever you want to call us. And he basically, we were talking, and he said, so what's your net worth these days? Because he knew me when I, in the 80s, when I was, between 88 and 2008, I was doing great. And I started to basically liquidate everything I had around 2006. Not all at once, but, when it made economic sense. And I just kept doing it, and I didn't buy other stuff, except I did. I mean, I bought the school, but I did it for tax reasons. And also I bought the school about Johnson because my good friend Inga, right, Solanovich, she was all there. Her kids weren't helping her out. Her daughter lives right in the same town. I mean, she would take them shopping, but, Inga had bills that, nobody was helping her with. So she needed a chunk of change, and she knew that her days were numbered, and she didn't want to go down that path without having any money in the bank, right? They take care of things, right? She didn't want to beg her kids, because it'd be one thing if her kids stood up and said, here, Mom, let's take care of this. Let's pay for that. Let's do this. But her daughter was so, focused on her career and blah, 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 and what people thought of her, her daughter, because they, live way up in the mountains and the school bus couldn't get up there, her daughter had the permission to ride to school on her own horse. How cool is that? Every girl wants her pony. And this girl felt, like she felt bad that she couldn't go on the bus with the rest of the kids. And she went there with a horse, and, every girl wants a pony, and here she had one. And that's the problem with people, is that they, have the most cool, amazing lives, and then, they complain about it, right? And that was, Inga's and George's kids, all they did was complain, whine and blah, 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 and they still do, right? Now that they're gone, they go on about how great they are. But pretty much, my brothers and sisters do the same thing about my parents. But see, they didn't even know. I mean, it's truly amazing. My brothers and sisters all worked for my parents for like 40 years, and all they could do is say what schmucks they were, right? Me, I had nothing to do with them, right? But after the War of the Roses, and my parents decided, well, screw this, and we're just going to retire. We have all these assets, and we'll just live on that. And then my father, you have to take care of us. I said, no, I don't. You have to take care of us. No, I don't. You're a scumbag. Why should I? I saw what you did to the rest of my siblings. Why? You think I'm that stupid? And so I went away, and I didn't see them for about 2 or 3 years. And then I came back, and I said, you know what? I am going to take care of you. You're going to die soon anyway. So I want to hang with you, because I'm not going to hang with the scumbag portion of you. I'm going to hang with the good guy of you. You're both really smart. You're both really accomplished. You both have great stories, and you both have this over the horizon part of you, which I'm going to help you facilitate. So you don't just, turn into a crabby old piece of crap and not do anything. That's fun, right? So I'm only going to be with you when you're fun. And, you're going to die in a year or two. So, why can't I be a little generous? Well, I took a bit too good care of my parents, because they lived another 28 years. My mom lived to be 103. My dad lived to be 98. So anyway, but I pretty much made sure that when I was with them, I would, they would be in a place where we were having a good time. And I asked them every question I wanted to. I had every conversation. Now, my dad had a problem with that, but being in the Air Force, right, he was brainwashed. So someone handed him a piece of paper that had type on it, he would just read it. you know, it was like an order, right? That's kind of like, and was in the air. He was a bird colonel in the Air Force for, 30 years, and he was in the Air Force for almost 40 years. So anyway, I could hand him stuff that was typewritten, and he would read it. He couldn't help it. He would stop doing it, stop doing it. I just kept handing him stuff, and he'd have to read things that I was talking to him about, because he could turn him, he would turn the TV on and watch sports. But if I handed something in type, he would read it, and he would, Whereas my mom, she would pick it up, read it, and then, make corrections, the grammar and spelling. And she was my best editor, and one of the reasons I succeeded as being a itinerant scholar is that during this time, I had gigs that I would go off and be what was known as a research fellow. And if any of you guys ever watched Goodfellas, that's the same thing. He's a good fellow, but I would say scholar, right? And they didn't call me a Rhodes Scholar because that meant something else. They called me an itinerant scholar, meaning I was ready to be hired. I mean, if you're a Rhodes Scholar, you're like Bill Clinton. You're basically owned. You're a slave to that motif. If you're a Rhodes Scholar, you're basically a slave to the Trilateral Commission or the CFR or any of those kinds of very, very, very illuminated Masonic. You're not a Mason. You're a slave to the Masons. Now, John Boy, he is like, I keep calling him the patron saint of Paine's canary in the spiritual coal mine, right? And that's what he is, because he is so caught between love, and he wants to share love in the deepest of ways, but he can't, because he can't get away from his ego. Meher Baba, yep. I was a big fan of Meher Baba. I was a big fan of a lot of teachers, right? I just, and I saw the divinity in all of them. But I also saw, the little cheeky monkey devil in them too. But Meher Baba, I knew that guy, or those people. And who was the boy who was the 16-year-old Godhead? It wasn't Meher Baba. What's that with Meher Baba? Say that all war is a result of individual greed and jealousy and necessary evil. Now, this is very true, except the physical representation, since it's an illusion, it's not really happening. It has more to do with our inability to love ourselves and love, God, and to be in a personal relationship. And Meher Baba is all about that personal relationship, that enlightenment, that freedom, that letting go, right? And just like every other relationship, folks around that motif basically have they get stuck in, we can make money at this. I mean, every religion, you're making money. You're making book, Catholicism, every frigging Baptist church I know, and I've studied a lot, I've been part of a lot of them, they're not worrying about money, right? And every time I talk about we need to live in poverty, they get very upset with that, right? I'm not going to get rid of my new car and the new this and new that. No, the new house and no. That's kind of, and people get not on my case anymore, but they kind of go, listen, now you can live like a millionaire on $400 a month. I can't. I said, good. That's, I'm not telling you to, basically God tells you to do that, in Luke, there's a great deal of that. In Paul, there's a great deal of that. John, great deal of that, talking about how it's a lot easier for a poor man to, get into heaven. But see, the thing is, heaven is right here, right now, right at, earth right now is heaven, and it's also hell. And it all comes from what Meher Baba was talking about, but it has to kind of put it in that perspective, a realization that people who do war don't realize that they're being manipulated by and when I say satanic powers, it's more complicated than that, because all of this, you read the Old Testament, and there's blood sacrifice everywhere, right? And that's the kind of dynamic that when people like the Illuminati, and that's just one bunch of chuckleheads, they're not the only ones, that secret societies that, ferment these kind of catastrophes, environmental and the weather stuff that we're experiencing is basically, we were the place, and we still are, we're in the Goldilocks zone, right? The earth has either been a swampland with reptiles roaming around, or one gigantic ice cube, right? It hasn't been this kind of beautiful pretty much ever, right? And so we're in the middle of it, and we're doing everything we can to screw it up, right? And yet it's, not going to happen to be screwed up, because everything is timing, Go read the Old Testament. From the beginning, and in the beginning, there was Jesus, right? Jesus was there in the beginning. And what's truly amazing is that 4,000 years from the time of Adam and Eve to when Jesus kind of breaks out and becomes a A-lister, all through the Old Testament, they talk about the Messiah. And once he shows up, he does everything that was foretold, he does. And he does it in the timing space, right? Especially from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday. There were about 200 and something things he had to do specifically, correctly, just at the specific, perfect time. And he did. He got them all because he was God. It wasn't, that washing the feet at the Last Supper. I mean, you name it, everything he did by the script. And when I say that, talking about, the war in Ukraine, and it's scripted between the two Vlads, when I talk about what's going on in Israel, that's scripted, and you can see it from the Old Testament, because every time Israel had Jerusalem and, basically had, was on top and was totally, they totally screwed with the Mesopotamians and the Babylonians and the Egyptians when they were, lowlifes, when they were just up and comers, right? They stepped on them, they took advantage of them. And so when it came to, when those guys got better and better and better, and the Jews, well, we got God on our side. God will always protect. Well, God always did protect them until the time he didn't, because he was so, especially Deuteronomy and Numbers, you read that, and Exodus, you read that, and you read, the first part, from, and in the beginning to Exodus, that part is God, that's where you see Israel, and, and people, oh, what's her name? Aisha? I don't have my Bible with me. Anyway, that girl basically made Israel, right? Before they were the Jewish tribes, and they were in that spec. Let's see. So all that's going on is scripted, just like the Old Testament is scripted, just like the New Testament, and the comic book of the end times things with the horsemen and all that crap. Well, that's been going on and on since day one of Adam and Eve eating the apple and being thrown out of the garden. And God made everything, so God knew this was going to happen. God made Satan, and all of this is done on purpose, because it is like going to the gym. We need Satan to tempt us so we can get stronger, so we can get into the relationship with God. And that we have what's it say in the Bible? Not a contract, but it's a stronger relationship than a contract, like agape love, right? It's who those guys, the Captain Antonia, Muskrat love. It's like agape love, So all this stuff is going on, and the most fun of your life is when you become aware of it, when you have that consciousness, consciousness aware I am, consciousness aware I am, not just conscious awareness I am. That's the beginning. Consciousness. Meaning there's one consciousness, one love, God. Covenant. Thank you very much. See, I love it. Mostly, I got so much stuff up here. And, when I was a little kid, I had everything, dyslexia, ADD, HDD, all of that stuff, right? And then before they had anybody saying what it was, before they had any drugs for it, I got murdered by a nun, and she, whacked me upside the head and made this eye blind and this ear deaf and broke my jaw. That's why I speak a little funny and crushed my esophagus. And so I had to learn how to breathe a whole different way, how to speak a different way. I had a serious stutter, still do. Can't hear out of this ear, but I can hear other things out of it. Can't see out of this eye, but I see your energy. And so I learned the Evelyn Wood speed reading, and I learned Evelyn Wood memory, right? And the whole thing about the memory castle, right? So one of the secrets of that is if you get stuck on a word, and if you try to think harder and harder what that word is, or thing, or time, or date, or whatever, it'll get further and further away. But if you just stop thinking about it and think about something else, it'll pop right in your mind. Now, it's gotten to the point with you guys in the cadre that happens to me, and you tell me what it is. I mean, I love it. That's, that is a straight up, some people would call that a miracle. And there's a great book called The Course in Miracles that you guys should go take a look at. And so I was in this town that has a big college in it. And so where I eat, all the kids who work there are either college kids, and then a lot of the kids who, mommy gives them a credit card, they go have meals there, right? And so I, talk to them. And so, and like I said, I was in this gigantic dining room, and only 3 people said grace over their food, I say grace over everything. I stick a piece of bubble gum in my mouth, and I don't, put the chocolate bar, I don't like have my camera on the big Amazon box that has like 60, smaller boxes that have 24 chocolate bars in them, right? So that's like the case has, 60 boxes, each having 24 boxes in it, and each having, 12 candy bars in it. So that's like, I don't know, 500 candy bars. And then just stuff the whole thing in my mouth. Pretty good. No, basically you just have one, and you hold it in your hands and you say, bless this gift that I'm about to receive. And thank you, Father, for everything you give us, every breath I take. Have this go into my body and bring forth the best from me, that in every day and every way, I take your piece of the earth and co-create it in one love's consciousness. Oh, I am. So, anyway, how are you today? I'm doing great today, right? I love it. Yeah, the band. Yep, we're all the band, the cadre. Yep, so it's all good. I mean, every day, I wake up in severe pain. I can barely see, barely breathe. And I close my eyes and say, thank you, God, for this. Because I know you're going to make me better, because I have no idea what we're doing today, but you're going to bring it to me, and I'm going to do exactly what you want. And in that, I will be my best, I will do my best. I can't be perfect, but I can do my best in your honor, love, and co-creation. I hope, right? So that's the first thing I say when I wake up, right? I don't go, oh, I'm just going to go back to sleep because I feel so terrible. Oh, my body hurts. Oh, I can't move. I can't breathe. I just want to die. I just want to die. No, I've already died 7 times. I don't want to die because I probably will die, a couple of times more. I still got 2 or 3 left in me. But it's only if I have to, meaning if I have to, my 3 little bylaws that I roll on is doctor, do no harm, right? So, and the first person I don't do any harm to is me, right? And then if I'm helped, the other day when I had my eyes operated, I was the last person online, and the doctor came in and they were like, oh God, my neck hurts, my back hurts, because this is a surgeon who uses this laser device, and it's like, a sharpshooter, and they have to hold it and so they said, so are you ready for this? And I said, wait, the real question is, are you ready for this? Because I said, listen, you're an hour late. You put me in this, room where the procedure room, and I've been sitting on this procedure because the chair is kind of like an operating table / chair, because they can put you in any angle so they can hit you with a laser beam, right? And she controls it with her foot, right? It's like the dentist that can do the same thing. Anyway, so I said, before we do this, here, I got out of the chair, and they've already dilated my eyes, and there's no light in the room, and, I'm wearing these things. And so I stand up, and I point down to the floor. And there's a line in the floor. I said, put your toes on either that. Now spread your feet. Okay, perfect. Now stand up straight. Okay, perfect. Now put your hands behind your back. Hold your hands and push your back straight and up. Now breathe in deep. And she had like a teeny little breath. No, forget that. Breathe out. Okay, now breathe in. More. And I said, see, you're lifting your diaphragm. See how that feels? And she goes, oh man. And she's just had a baby about 8 months ago, and she had another one about 2 years ago. So she has a 2-year-old and like a 10-month-old infant, right? And she's having to carry them around. So I could see her hips are like totally whack. And I said, so you didn't sleep too good last night? Oh, they were crying all night, and I had to carry them, and I had to pick them up. I said, yeah, you have to learn how to pick these kids up. Actually, what you need to do is sit next to them and just put them in your lap, not try to, pick them up from the ground and defy gravity. And so anyway, I'm doing this, and then I start hitting her chakras, and then I do this energetic thing, qigong energy, and in 2 minutes, and I got her up, and she's breathing how I want her to breathe. And I said, just totally focus on your breath. And then when she got to that spot of perfection, I snapped my fingers. I said, and now you're totally awake. And she goes, whoa, what did you do to me? I said, how do you feel? I feel the best I've ever felt in the last 5 years. I said, yeah, not good. How did you do that? Well, what did you do? I said, I didn't do anything. I just kind of guided you so your body could mellow itself out and come to homeostasis. You're a doctor, you know what that means. You have balance. I said, when's the last time you were in balance? She goes, I don't know, 15 years ago. So anyway, so I said, okay, I think we're ready. So we lie down, and she gets to it, and she is constantly going, this is great. I feel great. Everything is going the way it should, because she had 2 other people that fucked up bad. That's why she was an hour and a half late for getting to me. And that's why instead of taking care of me at 2:30, she was taking care of me at 4 o'clock. And so she goes, now I need you to look up, and I look down, and I said, okay, so you've done, how much have you done on that that you were going to do? And she goes, oh, I don't know, about 10%. So I said, we got another 90, right? I said, right. And I said, so as I understand it, you're barbecuing the inside of my eye where the broken blood vessels are. You're getting rid of that. And she goes, yep, that's it. So you have to hit it at a certain angle, right? And that's why you wanted me to look up, look down, look over this way, look over. But I can't tell because I can't see anything. And my whole my eyeball thing is all about me understanding the reference point. And she goes, yes. I said, so our hand is actually connected without having to be seen to our eyeball. And she goes, yes, I know that. I said, so why don't you put my hand exactly where you want my eyeball to be looking? And she goes, well, that's interesting. Okay, let's try that. So I do that. And now she's going, this is amazing. I'm going to have to do this with everybody, because she said, I'm not even having to like turn my body into a mush by getting it into an angle. It's like right there. You're doing a great job. So I said, wherever you want my eyeball, just put my hand. If my left eyeball, put my left hand where you want it. And so she did it. So instead of it taking an hour to do my left eyeball, it took 40 minutes. And she said, I got 99% of everything. And I'm not going to try to go for that 100%. I'm going to let your eyeball, I've been in your eyeball with a laser, shotgun, probably 40 minutes longer than it should be. I mean, normally what I've just done to your eyeball, it would take me 5 visits to do. Now, but I've just done it all, and it's all great. So I'm going to leave that 0.1%. And I'm going to have you come back in a couple months. But how about the other one? I still have one whole section I didn't do. How about we finish that up? You up for it? And by this time, we were already like an hour and 20 minutes into this. And I said, yep, we're good to go. So she does that. So 2 hours of a laser beam in my eyeball. And you can't even imagine what it's like to have the most powerful energy source blasting away at the most delicate parts of your body, which are your eyes. Your eyes are so alien to your body. It's like they're a different thing inside your body. They don't act like the rest of your body. So anyway, so she was amazed, right? And so I basically, she says, I'm going to go get some stuff for you. And I'll be back in 10 minutes. I just want to see how your eyeballs are, give it 10 minutes to rest. And then I'll take another glance before I send you on your way. I said, okay, no problem. I've been here I've been here 4 hours, another 10 minutes, not a big deal. So she goes off and she actually gets me. Normally she doesn't give me the magic drops, but she gave me a nice big squeezy bottle of eye drops. And she looks at me, she goes, I'm really proud of my work. I said, nope, that was God's work. She looked at me. Now, I couldn't see anything, right? Everything was still black like this, right? And she got me these glasses. These are a nice new pair of welder's goggles. And so she stuck these on my head, and she said, okay, your buddy he goes, your buddy out there is pretty good. Everyone's gone, and he's just sitting there. He looks like he's praying. I say, yeah, that's what he does. And so, the doctor's on one side of me and the nurse is on the other side. They walk me out because I can't see anything. And we walk into the waiting room, and the outside sunlight's super bright. And I can see I can't see anything, but I can see the difference in light. I said, I can't really see anything. She goes, well, it's not dark anymore, is it? I said, no, she goes, that's good. And she goes, can you see a difference? And she goes, you can see the difference between outside and inside, right? I said, yep. She goes, well, you're great. She goes, about 6 hours, you're going to start to be able to see shapes and forms. Until then, this guy has to, help you around. And you have I found your walking stick. Here's your walking. You left it in the operating room. Here's your walking stick. So, we walk out and everyone's go, bye, Al, bye. Because I've read everyone in that hospital's palm. Like when I walked in, they have a very secure system. First, you have to check in at the drive-in, and then you park your car, and then and they give you a spot to park in. You can't just park anywhere. And so when we went into the drive-thru, the lady, plugged me into the computer. Said, okay, why don't you park right here, which is like right by the door, like save for like the guy who owns the place, right? He's not here now. You park there because you're going to be blind when you come out, and we don't want you to walk all the way across the parking lot. You might trip on something. So right there, right? So we sit in the car for about 15 minutes to eat the cheeseburger, and then we go in, and then they have another person you have to check in at the door, right? I walk in, the girl goes, I've already checked in, right? So we'll walk in there. And then they have the before you go in the back, there's another place you have to check in. And as I walk up, and she goes, no, I've checked you in already. So these things, I've been going to this place now for 4 years. I've read everybody who works there, their palm. And when there's a newbie, they bring them to me. And my doctor is one of the people who own the place. And that's what you want. The first time she did this to me, I said, so how many of these do you do a week? And she said, about 60. Anybody who does 60 operations a week, that they know what they're doing, right? Because if they didn't, they'd be screwing a lot of people up and there'd be a lot of lawsuits. And so she's really well known in her thing. And I got her because my doctor in Virginia, he invented the technique. So when he said, where are you going? And I told him, he said, oh, I have, a student of mine, and she's really good. And she's just, starting up she's hooked up with some older guys, and she's like the hot shot of this procedure. So I'm going to hook you up with her. And so I did. And that's how you get good health care. Not expecting that any moron's going to take care of you, because they're not. Doctor, heal thyself, And that's what I did. So realizing that the girl who's about to, go nuts inside my eyeball with a laser shotgun, I made sure, I did my little thing on her so she would be able to do a great job on me, which she's done, right? Because I was starting to really have a hard time seeing. And now it's like, and it's only 2 days after the thing. She goes, you're still going to have floaters. You're still going to have this. You're going to have that. The worst thing is if you don't see, if everything's a blur, call us back. But otherwise, it'll just get better and better. And, I want to see you in about a month and a half. And if things are still, aren't really good, if you're looking at your eyeballs without thinking like, oh, you're looking like through Vaseline, give us another call. But everything looks great, and you'll be great, and it is great. Like right now, I can see really good. So that is one of the beauties of having, so I was blind, meaning I only saw blackness, for the first hour after the procedure, and then I saw, light, but without any form. And within 8 hours, my friend took me back to his house, and his wife made us a nice dinner. And I just kind of, sat on the couch and didn't look at anything. And we just prayed, because they're very prayerful people. So we prayed, right? They pray all the time. So we prayed. And, I had a really good friend around here who everyone loves him, and he just keeled over, right? And he was like dead. And he just happened to be taken to the right hospital at the right time when the doctor who could do this procedure, and he went in and cracked him and was working on his heart from the inside out. And everyone said, well, this guy's dead. Why keep, hitting a dead horse? He said, no, I can save this guy's life. And he did. And when I went to see him, it was amazing because, I went, so he was saved, right? But he was in the hospital for a good 2 weeks, right? And, but I went to see him maybe 3 days after this, right? And there were like 100 people out in the hallway, right? And they were all praying, right? And, I went to go in and see him, and you could feel the energy of that prayer. And that's how strong prayer is, right? So the folks I was staying with are very, very prayerful people, and they're very beautiful people. And they are, truly, they don't have to say, praise God, praise Jesus, praise God, praise, they don't. And they kid around a lot, and they say things that people would say, well, they're not very, but they never say anything mean about anybody. They never curse. They're like me. They have an interesting perspective. That's why they like me, because I have perspective on things that they really, they are open-minded people that listen to, oh, that's interesting. And they kid around a lot, right? but they're not like John, who basically makes fun of other people because he doesn't want people to make fun of him, basically. And that's what a bully does. And John is sweet enough to not be, he can be a bully. I've seen him be a bully. He's tried to be a bully to me and I just laugh, And, he threatened me with, he was holding a hammer in his hand. He was like spitting mad. And, he forced me to get out in, 10 minutes. I couldn't really pack things up. I just had to go, which I did, and I had already, been thrown out a few other times. So I never had a lot of stuff, but I had been there a while, about a week. So I had a few things, I was, the only thing I could do is, grab my socks and my medicines and a few other things. And, and it was super duper ridiculously cold. So I grabbed my sleeping bag and my nice silk warm blanket, and a pillow, but everything else, all of my paperwork and all that, and I didn't grab a lot of stuff. And so when I came back, it was all gone. John, what'd you do with this? I don't know. I didn't do anything. There was nobody else there, Anyway, but that is like, again, he is. And people go, why do you have anything to do with that guy? Well, because 1, I never give up on a friend, and he is a friend, right? 2, he represents something so amazing. He is the patron saint of suffering, of, the canary in the spiritual coal mine of sin, right? That's our boy. He wants to do the right thing. He feels guilt all the time, but he can't let God's love into him because he doesn't think he's worthy, right? He is worthy. We're all worthy. See, you don't have to belong to and that's one of the problems with, King James, last section of the comic book of King James, End Times part. It was written by a guy named John, kind of up on the border near Greece and Turkey. And he basically said, if you don't, believe in God and Jesus the way I'm teaching you, you're going to go to hell. I mean, you can have your heart open to Jesus. You can be saved by Jesus. You can, be a believer in Jesus and God. But if you don't do it my way, you're going to hell. That's pretty much that part of whatever they call it, End Times, the 4 horsemen and all of that kind of scary stuff. And it's just a comic book. Because all that scary stuff is going on right here. Just go to the Gaza Strip. Just go to, Africa, all those places. There's about 20 places in Africa where millions of people have, in the Gaza Strip, 2-point-something million people have been dispossessed, right? And 30,000 to 50,000 have died. In Ukraine, close to maybe 12 to 20 million people have been dispossessed, and somewhere between 100,000 to 300,000 have died, right? You go to Africa, right, in Darfur, and there's about 20 other places. That place where they have all these strategic metals and oil and gas and you name it, and they just having a civil war. They were right at a place where they were doing really pretty good, and then this little disagreement between the head general of the army and the head general of the National Guard, and now they're having a civil war, and those 2 army guys aren't killing each other, they're just killing the population. And that's kind of what's going on in the Strip, right? They haven't really, the IDF hasn't really made a dent in, the homeless, but they sure killed a lot of innocent folk, right? So anyway, so you want to know what hell is? It's right here, right now. You want to know what heaven is? It's right here, right now, all right? It's up to you and all of us. And the more we can be in every day and every way, taking the peace of the earth and making it stronger through God's love of co-creation, of Jesus's unconditional forgiveness, and the Spirit's one love, and us. We are that that Trinity. We are it. We are that reflection. When Moses was talking to the burning bush, and he said, "So what's your name? You want me to go to Egypt? What name should I say?" And the burning bush said, "I am." And now he didn't say, "I am who I am," he wasn't Popeye. What he said was, "I am a work in progress, and you," meaning all of humanity, "are my reflection, because you were made in my image and likeness." And this is a work in progress we got going on here. And the only sin there is when you refuse to be in that sacred relationship of one love with me, because that's the only thing that will make this heaven on earth. And this is where heaven is, right here, right now, for you guys, right? For us, right? The children of God. Now, the story behind all of that is we can't even fathom it. If we can't even fathom the Trinity, it's kind of hard to think that we could even come close to fathoming everything other than that, So anyway, let's see. How much juice do I have left here? Oh. So what are you kids saying here? Any questions here? Let's see. Government. Today, doing really good. You are so cheerful. Yeah, of course. When God is your bud, and Jesus is, when God is your bud and watching your back, and Jesus is, your immediate superior in the office situation, I don't have to worry about anything, I don't have to, it's totally like, I didn't have the jacket I normally would wear that I can put my keys and my wallet in to the same place, and I can zip them up and know that they won't fall out, right? So today, I went here, I went there, I did a bunch of different things. And then I went to this place, the big dining room, and had a meal, and I spent a good, 2 hours there. Instead of going online and looking up what's online, I talked to all these people and had a great, when more than two are in my name, there's fellowship. So I had a better Bible fellowship with those 10 people than I normally have in the 3 different churches I go to, because it was great. They were all coming from different perspectives. They weren't like just KKK Baptist or I Own Everything Methodist or pagan Roman Catholics. These were people who believed in God and were brought up in some flavor of Christianity. And as we talked about everything, they saw the understand, because they were all different churches. Some were Methodist, some were, Episcopalian, some were, Unitarians. Ooh, they're like, because Unitarians don't think there is a hell, that everyone's going to go to heaven. And a lot of Christians, they can't have that one. So we were having the best of the best. And there was 3 servers who were involved, and I got there after the lunch. The dining hall had a whole bunch of people in it, and a lot of people just getting their food. But the big thing of the kitchen being rushed and getting the orders, that was kind of waning down. And so by the time we started really getting into it, everybody. So the manager, the boss of the house at the time, he kind of came over to see why 3 of his servers weren't doing their job. They got this little thing that would whoop-de-doo that actually tells the computer where they're standing at what table and how many seconds they're standing. And he's looking at his screen, and he comes out from where he was looking and saw them all, about 10 people, 3 or 4 tables, and they all inched their chairs over, and we're having this great conversation. And there were people covered in tattoos and biker people and, real super Christians who were farmers and, Baptists. And we were just having, and everybody was getting off on the fact that we were having a great time telling stories about our experiences, not from a negative space, but from a loving, and everybody was feeling God. And I kept saying, see, when more than two get together talking in his name, look what you get. And everyone was like, yo. And soon as the boss walked into that circle, he felt it too. And he started talking about his childhood growing up as a Jew. And so it was like, and he said, I never told anyone this, but I'm Jewish. Anyway, so, it was quite interesting. So that's why I can be, kind of cheerful, because that was a pretty cheerful experience. And pretty much every day, even when so I would say half the week I don't go anywhere because I have no money to buy gas, right? And often I don't have this beater to drive around in. And so I'm happy just to, even when it was like this week, when it was ridiculously cold, we had a ridiculously cold spell for about 6 days. And as long as I sit, my deck is perfect from about 9 a.m. until right about now. What time is it now? I don't know. What time is it? Oh, I don't know. What is it, 5 or 6, whatever it is now. The sun hits you. If the sun is hitting me on my deck, I'm toasty, right? Because the way I cut it into the hill, even if there's like a strong breeze going, I don't get any breeze on me, right? So it can be 20 degrees below, and and there's no snow and the sun is out and it's the breeze ain't coming from the weirdest direction that it normally doesn't come from, I'm warm. Right? And I have an electric blanket up there. If I'm at least, I plug it in. I sit in my wheelchair. I used to be in a wheelchair for a good year after I died, but I got out of the wheelchair. Right? And then I had these metal clamps on my legs. I don't have them anymore. Right? So that's why I can be cheerful. I've come from this other place. Now, most people, they don't realize how, like John, he doesn't realize how good he has a life. Right? Let's see that boy. Oh, let's see. It's interesting. Okay. Is it going to ring? Oh, it's ringing. Let's see if John Boy. Oh, there's Fish. Hey, Fish, how you doing, sweetie? If I can get a bar later this evening, I'll give you a buzz. So welcome, everyone, to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob right here.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Hey, John. God loves you, and so does everyone on the show. They're all here. They wanted to tell you how much they love you. And you just have to let it go, and move forward.
Hello?
Oh, I thought you were not answering the phone.
Oh, it looks like these times, it looks like this time you get to bring it home and straight to the asshole.
Well, I don't have to say any more, do I? John's had one gift that never lets you down. I mean, because he always lets you down. When you can depend on, when you can know what's coming up. I mean, most times in your life, you have no idea what, speedball is heading for your head, right? But let's see. Yep. So anyway, been talking here now. Any questions, anybody? I still have, how much juice do I have left? I still got a ton of juice left. I could talk for another 4 hours, but I'm not. My butt's hurting. I might get out and stretch my legs. We'll do that. Okay, take the key. So it's good to be reminded not. I hate it when I like the keys inside the vehicle. Oh, that's Johnny calling. We'll ignore him. Look how nice it is out here. There's the sun. There's the sun. The light. That brings us life. That's the prana of life, right? So that's the Forest Service Road back there. And you go, that way about a mile, and you hit more of a county road. And then you go about 2 miles and you hit a real county, like a paved road. So I'm about 3 miles to the paved road. And the mob has come and bought up all the property around here. So it's a gigantic lake, and this was all national forest that you're not supposed to develop. And they paid somebody off, and they bought up all that, 6,000 square acres, right? And they're going to just tear it apart without doing anything for the county or the people. Oh, let's see. Oh, there he is. There you are. What?
Well, you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay, and I've always been okay. Every time you threw me out, I was okay. John, every time you threw me out, all 32 times, it was actually a blessing because you kind of shot me into a new adventure that was way more exciting than you going on and on and on how you're miserable. So because you're one of the most blessed guys I know. You really don't have to worry about anything.
Hey, remember me? I was homeless, and you live in
You were never homeless, John. John Birmingham was never homeless. John Birmingham was never homeless.
And you taught me how to be an electrician. I'm a Puerto Rican man. I was homeless.
No, John, you were not. You were never a Puerto Rican man.
I was 14 years old. I was a little boy, Puerto Rican. I went to PS42, Manhattan. Come on, yeah.
See what I mean, guys? This guy could do anything he wants. He could act. He could do anything. He's really talented.
You taught me how to be an electrician.
Yeah, well, yes, I taught a lot of people how to be an electrician.
I took care of my wife and kids,
So, how's Jimmy doing?
Oh.
Let's hey, Jose, can you put Jimmy on the phone? Can you put Jimmy on the phone? Jimmy.
I took a little battery charger on. I would never get electrocuted.
Jimmy, where's Jimmy? Jimmy, are you there? Are you there, Jimmy? Jimmy, where's Jimmy? Let's talk to Jimmy. Let's hear. Ow. See, Jimmy is his little sweet self, right? And I don't know if John ever knew any Mexicans or Hispanics or Puerto Ricans, because whenever he deals with them like he's the boss, right? And then he feels guilty. And every aspect, he normally feels guilty. Now, guilt is a real bourgeois emotion, right? Because what it does is it lets you off the hook, right? And whereas sympathy is, oh, that's too bad. Get out of my way. I'm in a rush, right? But empathy is what makes us a human being. Empathy is, buddy, I know how you feel. I've been there too. Right? And that is the emotion we need to express. And that's the emotion that Jesus expressed, right? Because he was there too, That was 30 years before he came and became an A-lister. He was, having to run, the guy who tried to kill him right off the bat, he kept trying to kill him. He never stopped trying to kill him. So, Jesus' family had to keep on the run. And so Jesus got to, study at some of the greatest schools. He met everybody, right? He understood what humanity was. So in Luke, you should read all of Luke, especially, because I think it's Luke 3, all of 3, pretty much all of Luke, but it's all Luke discusses what Jesus's boys were asking him, right? What's going on, and Jesus said, so what do the people think I am? And they said, well, some think you're John the Baptist, some think you're, Isaiah, some think you're old, but no one said, they think you're the Messiah. But the people, when he asked the people, what do you think I am? They said, you're the Messiah, right? And so, Jesus's boys, that wasn't really his real crew. His real crew were Mary Magdalene and his girls, because Mary Magdalene was a priestess of the temple, right? And all the girls were that folk. They were like, the other guys were just like fishermen and normal guys. These girls had training. They knew languages. They had spiritual training. And so Mary Magdalene was not a whore. She was a priestess of the temple. So and when Jesus was being, crucified, the boys hid like scared little chickens. Whereas, Jesus said to, I think, Paul or John or whatever Puddinhead, he said, you will diss me 3 times before the cock crows. The girls didn't do any of that. When he went into court, they were there with him. They weren't there when he was being tortured because they took him down the torture chamber, but they took, they were there when they could be there. And then when he was forced to, carry the cross, they were there with him. And the guy saw that and carried the cross for Jesus because he felt that he was the Messiah. He understood what it was. He understood that guy who carried the cross for Jesus knew what he was doing because he understood that in the scriptures, it said that was going to happen. And so he didn't go, but he felt it. Because that guy didn't know how to read, but he felt it. And that is the relationship that you have with God. That's that agape love, right? And not, John called up and he felt guilty, so he had to pretend he was, the Hispanic, guy in the worst of the tropes, like something you'd see on 1970s TV police show, right? And if John's called back and he speaks like a black guy, it'll be, the same kind of black guy, right? The drug dealer. But Jimmy is the closest thing to who his sweet self is. And so when Jimmy shows up, he's really sweet, really nice. When you see John sweet and nice, that's the Jimmy side of him. But Jimmy, he's like Chucky, right? So he can switch from that sweet to like, you better watch out. Whenever you see Jimmy coming out with that look in his like, and he's got a weapon in his hand, that's where you stand, 20 feet away from John. So whenever he would come out like that and scream at me and have me, you gotta go, and I would go, even if I wasn't prepared. So after I came back and half of my stuff was missing, from that point on, all that was important to me at that time, or whatever I had that I needed, I made sure I kept in my car. Instead of, in that little room, in that closet, I, opted for like just keeping it in a car. If I need it, I go in the car, get it, So, so that's John, and that's why I still have something to do with John. A, John is my friend. B, if I can do anything to help him move forward in this process of becoming a loving human being, and he has, he is a lot better than he was, right? He was pretty much a satanic creature when I first met him, right? But now he's, praise God, praise Jesus, he's like, and when you do that, when he's doing what he's doing, it really pretty much um, um, it leaves that loving stamp on him for every, it enables him to maybe get perspective, maybe, and like I said, if his kids came to the school, I would go there and help them all come together where they could get something out of it, right? If he wanted to go down to Texas and try to work it out with his wife, I'd be, glad to go with him. And there'd had to be certain parameters on it. But he couldn't go and do the same thing he did, the last 20 times, because he will have the same outcome. He has to be ready, meaning his wife. Yeah, there's a certain thing of her and him. And yeah, I talk to her all the time. Yeah, pretty much. But there has to be a commitment. He has to commit, and she has to commit to being the best that she can be. And I've had a conversation with her. Like last time I saw her, like, I don't know, good 10. When the last time I saw her? Oh, they left in 2015. So he hasn't really been with, and he probably got divorced around 2009. I'm not really sure, 9, 10, somewhere there. And they were separate. They weren't together anymore, right? But she stayed in Roanoke because her parents, John's parents, had lots of real estate, and she got to live in a very nice house for free. Didn't have to pay the utilities. Blah blah blah. They paid all her bills, gave her a car. Blah blah blah. And then her father came after, I think, again, 2015, maybe 14. No, it's 15. Yeah, at least 15. And took her to Texas. And that's why he took her away from me. No, she was never there. He was never there. I used to have to drag him to see them, right? 3 different times. Again, John Birmingham's a gift that keeps on giving, because he represents so many psychodramas in the human experience. I don't have to go no place. I just watch him, right? And he gets so embarrassed by every one of my, if you can, I don't know who is running my YouTube channel. Now, I can see every show I've ever made, right? I can go on my channel and look at it and hit, this one button. I can see everything. But when I go at it from a different direction, like the average person would see it, I can see maybe 3/4, but not all of the shows. And I think it has something to do with it shows. I might have pushed some button, just show the most popular, because that's it. Pretty much every show that you can see has at least 40 to 100 views. Some have a lot more, right? So I think it might be, swayed towards that, right? So anyway, I have no idea how any of this works. To me, it's a miracle. But yeah, for a guy pushing 80, I don't look too bad, I do have that kind of Moses look, though, the white beard, white hair. I got a little bit of a comb over happening. It's really my spring scarf, but when I look at it straight on and you don't know, I kind of gave it away, right? It's my Easter pirate scarf, but well, it's down to one person, so I'm gonna kick out of here because it's getting cold, it's getting dark. I want to get back before I can't see. Okay, later. Love you guys. Oh, and Fish, I'll see you. I'll try and call you later this evening. Okay, about an hour or 2. Okay, remember, thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, make some comments, blah, blah, blah. I love you guys.